Hey friends, it's your pal Mike Shea from Sly Flourish, here with another episode of Sly Flourish's Lazy GM Prep. In this weekly show, I go through steps from Return of the Lazy Dungeon Master while preparing for my Sunday role-playing game. In this case, I am running Shadowdark by Arcane Library using the Curse Scroll 1 setting of the Gloaming. This show, like all of the work of Sly Flourish, is brought to you by the patrons of Sly Flourish. Patrons get access to all kinds of GM tools to help them run their games, a dedicated Discord server, the monthly Patreon Q&A, whole bunch of different exclusive adventures, lots and lots of tools to help you run your game. It's a really, really good deal. You get a whole ton of stuff for joining. You get new stuff pretty much every month. And you help me put on shows like this. To the patrons of Sly Flourish, thank you so much for your outstanding support. My game has transitioned a little bit, not in its theme, but in how we play. We had been playing primarily remote up to this point ever since COVID started. And what we discovered, a friend of mine has been hosting it at his house and said, more and more people have been going over. And I was always worried that if I played in person, that we have one person who moved to another state, so they physically cannot join the game. They can't join the game physically. And so we just kind of stayed remote because I was like, well, it's probably easier for it to stay remote when we have one remote person than otherwise. But my players have been very eager to play in person again. And so they've started to host at my friend's house, and I started going over there. And I remote friend, do you still feel like included? Are you still getting everything? And he said, no, this is great. He says he's been very happy with it. So we put like a big speaker in the center of the table, and it's got a big microphone so he can hear all of us playing. And that has actually worked out pretty well. And we've even done it where a couple people ran remote, like somebody wasn't feeling well or something else, and they could play remotely while the rest of us have been playing at my friend's place. So I've been transitioning to that. That also means I've been kind of slowly transitioning away from digital tools and going back to physical tools. And it's been really fun to play Shadowdark with physical tools. I get to use my little GM screen. I get to use the physical book at the table. Last week, I used a Paizo, one of my all-time favorite GM accessories, the Paizo flip mat, the Paizo basic flip mat. Fantastic accessory. I've been using it for like 20 years and I love it. And I use that. And so I've been drawing the map out on the table and then asking one of my players to take pictures and send pictures to Discord regularly so that the player who's playing remote can still see pictures of what's going on. But we're still playing pretty heavily theater of the mind. I haven't really been worrying about setting up maps and miniatures. I'm not bringing miniatures with me. I kind of enjoy theater of the mind play with drawing high level maps out on a dry erase flip mat. That has worked well. The great fun was when they were getting attacked by two gray oozes, and I drew just like a little blob, and then I said, make sure to take a picture and send this to Pat so he can see it. And I said, I don't want him to miss the fine tabletop array that we're using today. And he's like, oh, wow, yeah, no, I feel like I'm there. And it was like a circle with the black circle on a thing. So that was kind of funny. But that actually worked pretty well. And I think I'm going to double down on that a little more. One thing I've been enjoying, I've been doing this now for my Empire of the Ghouls game, which has also been in person. And I did it last night for my Shadowed Keep on the Borderlands game, is I've been using physical notes. And I bought myself... I was like, I kind of want to have like a physical binder again. Like one interesting thing is so I have the Lazy DM's Companion, the Lazy DM's Workbook, and Forge of Foes. And I was like, there are some pages from those books that I use all the time. And there's some pages in those books that I don't use very often. I have like a loose leaf binder where I either print or I tear out those pages. I have like proof copies that are totally borked up. And so I can tear my own pages on my own book and put it in a notebook. And I did. I bought like a 3-ring binder. And look, I went on Amazon and bought D&D stickers because I was like, I want to pretend I'm 14 years old again. And so I've loaded up my binder with stickers. And I put in, it's got these like plastic rings. You can pick it up for like $10. And I put in sheets that I had where I can slip printed sheets in there. So I can have like maps in it. And I can have my game notes in it. Where are my game notes? So I can print out my game notes and stick that in there. And maps, I can just draw the maps, and you can't really see. I can I can take Dyson maps, print them, and then write on my own things on them. And that's actually been a fun way to play. And then I have sheets like my 1D100 Monuments, which just came out. You can't see that either. My 1D100 Monuments, which just came out for Sly Flourish patrons. I made my own sheet of stat blocks from Forge of Foes. So I have like, CR0 to CR30 stat blocks and tiny little blocks, a little bit bigger. So like I have the list too, but the list can be a little hard to read. I want a great big text where I can basically like circle it and I know exactly what stat block, and that way I can reference it very quickly at the table. So I made that. I put that up for patrons. I am using the GM screen printouts that Elizabeth made that are available to patrons as well, or you can get a discount for patrons. It's also available on DriveThruRPG. And then a bunch of pages that I tore out of the workbook, and a bunch of pages that I tore out of the companion, and one page out of Forge of Foes to make like a reference book. So it's been very cool to make like my own little GM floppy thing. I've got like my little pen case. I really want Velcro so it would sound like a Trapper Keeper, but I can't find any Velcro. So that's been fun. And that has been a change for how I've been playing Shadowdark. Like I think what I'm going to do today is I'm going to write out my notes today in Notion, and then I'm going to format it in Word and print it out so I have a single page printout. The one thing I haven't figured out yet is how to take notes in it, because I'm putting not laminated, but like slip sheets where I slip paper inside the sheet, the 3-ring sheet, which is really cool because you can use a dry erase marker right on the sheet, and that's really cool. But I don't have a good way to take notes in it. And I don't know if I'm going to buy like a small like field notes notebook and slide it in there, and that's where I keep my notes. I don't know. I want something fun for keeping track of notes that feels again like we used to do in ye olden days. And I don't have a fantastic way to do it yet. So I'm still noodling through that. But maybe when I come to a thing that works well, I will do so. Of course, I have piles of 3x5 cards in there because 3x5 cards are great. So that's been lots of fun. Anyway, that's been a big change in how my game has been running physically. But as far as the game and how we've been playing it, the characters, we started off with them seeing like a great big beam of light shining down a bad beam. They realized that, wow, like Almazot's, the Planet Eater is on the way, and they are headed to... Oh, this is so much fun. So they're taking a Wilderland journey, like a journey across the forest to go to the Redthorn camp. The Redthorns are like either followers or ex-followers of the Knights of St. Yidris. And they've been conducting some terrible ceremony at this hill. And the characters are making the Redthorn Hill. And there's a great big marrow tree on the top of the hill that has grown down deep. It's funny because I'm running 2 games in 2 days that both have a great big tree that leads down to a dungeon below. But luckily none of my players overlap, so I'm the only one that knows. And you guys, and you find folks. So the characters are going to make their way to this big. They made their way through the woods to this big tree. Along the way, they encountered Marrow, or the dragon that is now a Mugdalblub dragon. The Mugdalblub dragon is Raredin Varrowsbane, the draconic chosen of Mugdalblub. This is a dragon that had killed one of the characters, but in killing the character had also been inflicted with Mugdalblub's curse. And while the characters are busy trying to get the cure to the curse, the dragon succumbed to it. I rolled randomly to see how affected was the dragon, and it was very affected. So when they came back, they saw, oh wow, all of its scales fell off. There's a great big pile of slime, and the dragon is gone. So they're like, we don't know what the hell happened. Well, now they've seen it, this big flying slime dragon flying in the sky. And they realized, wait a minute, they could just hide, and they thought about that. But then they're like, what if we could lead it over to the hill and have it somehow... can we bait it to go attack the hill? And then we don't have to deal with any of the jackasses on the hill. And they're like, yeah, so let's try it. So they act 2 characters that both cast flying. They flew with different sort of things. And they flew up and then had to distract it. Now, the dragon flies faster than they did, so they had to bounce it back and forth while they were racing towards the hill. Then when they got to the hill, there were a bunch of Marrow wolves. Marrow wolves are like big wolves that either have been transformed by the world of Marrow, and Undaluk and Almazot's, these world-devouring creatures, or they came from there. But they are genetically built to be angry with Mugdalblub because they were weapons against Mugdalblub, which is probably a good secret for today. So the characters, as soon as the dragons saw the Marrow things and the Marrow stuff saw the dragons, they all went crazy, and the characters flew away, and they're like, we don't know what happened. We'll go there. We'll just let them enjoy themselves, and we'll come back later. So then they joined the rest of the group. The group made its way there, and they found that everybody was wiped out on the hill. That there were all of these cultists of Marrow that were dead, who were followers of Greaves Redthorn. They did find there was a sealed chamber that still had a Marrow Knight in it, And they talked to two bandits, one of whom turned into a gray ooze, and then another one turned into a gray ooze, and then they fought a couple of gray oozes. But in the meantime, it was all just devastation around the area, and like these big blasts of slime dripping off of trees and everything like that. But then they found the trapdoor that leads to the chambers below. They know the dragon did not make it to the chambers below. So it worked out really well that they got a chance to clear out the whole hill, but there's still a big challenge of them going down into the depths below, where the ceremonies are going on to basically call Unduluk to the world. And that is what today's game is about, is the summoning of Unduluk. So we're using Notion for our campaign planning, as we have thus far. We're going to generate a new session planning template. And if you want to learn more about using Notion for your RPGs, you can find a link into the show notes. Lately, I will admit, I've been using Obsidian a lot for my other campaigns, but because I've already been doing this campaign here, and because it's easier for me to show it online and share it easily, I'm still using Notion for this stuff. I've actually been bouncing back and forth, even to the point where I write my stuff in Obsidian, then copy and paste it over to Notion. It's real, complicated. I don't know what I'm going to do. When I start a new campaign, I'm going to think hard about switching over and using Obsidian for whatever the next campaign is. But I've been enjoying Notion thus far. And Notion still works really well. So let's see, 18 Feb 2024, the Gloaming. So we're going to take a look at our characters today. I think they expected, was it last week or the week before, where they expected lots of deaths and nobody died. So I think we've gotten through a couple sessions now with no deaths, which has been pretty interesting. So characters, we have Morgan Nightweaver, a zealot elf warlock, a follower of Shun the Vile. Probably their mother was Gwendolyn, who may be actually directly related to Shun the Vile, who is not, Shun the Vile doesn't refer to themselves as Vile. And they have it's a little note I should put in here, carries the obsidian witch knife, which can sever through worlds. We're still figuring out exactly how that works. And it's definitely dangerous, so they haven't used it really. But there's a risk about using the witch knife. Like, she's not as proficient with it as like her mother was. And her mother could slice it and know where she was going, generally speaking. But there's this big risk of like, if they open it and use it and end up in another world, what happens? And what happens to the door behind them? And it's dangerous. We have Dazder, a human witch shaman who carries the remnant of Memnon. This is Jay's third character. I'm surprised he's only the last two characters. Calum, the elf wizard. Lauren, the goblin scout leader. Uralt of the Riviera. The G is silent, a former knight of St. Yidris. And Tribble, the halfling burglar of lawful alignment, and who is a huge fan of the characters. So those are the characters today. And we begin we have the glorious dead. I don't think anybody's died. The last one was Dart, who got shot through the head and turned to ash by a lightning trap in Kytheros' shrine. That was sad. I felt bad for Dart. And we have our strong start today. So they are down in the depths below. We can pull up our map. So I'm showing the map in Owlbear Rodeo, but actually I think I'm going to print the map out. In fact, let me see. Let's go to my locations here. The roots of the Marrow tree. So we're going to open this View Original, and I'm going to save this to my desktop. I think I already have a printout of this, but what the hell? I'll print it out again. Paper and ink are cheap. I'm going to print that out on my printer. I think we're going to do this. It's going to be kind of boring for the video, but I'll talk about it anyway, on how I've been lately working with maps. So we're going to do that. Can you hear my printer in the background? I don't know if you can hear my printer in the background. So let's see. So they're down. Let's think about what's going on in here. What's the situation? This is really useful where we think about what the situation is going on. So Greaves Redthorn, a former member of the Knights of St. Idris, and his followers are down there in some kind of terrible ceremony to call Unduluk. I think the strong start would be the wolves, Marrow, howl. And in our secrets and clues, we can say Greaves, Redthorn, and the follower and the cult. We're going to say the cult of Marrow are summoning Unduluk. Unduluk, the caller of Almazatz, the planet eater, into the world. So that's the situation that's going on. Some of Greaves's followers aren't on board with the whole end of the world thing. Others have fully embraced the fate of the Gloaming. Others still have given themselves physically to the world of Marrow. all of the followers, this is going to be a Shadowdark cheat, which is all of the followers in the roots of the Marrow tree have some Marrow stuff in them, enough to let them see in the dark. Thus, torchlight still matters, even though there's a bunch of human folk down there. I know it's kind of a cheat, but I think it fits the Shadowdark style, which is like, hey, your enemies can see in the dark. You're just hosed. Scenes, I kind of don't need to worry. I guess on the scene side, what I'm going to worry about is what happens when they're done with this. So the main thing is crawling through the roots of the Marrow tree. But then the question is like, what's next? And what's next is probably, I think it's kind of falling relatively linear now, which is travel to the old well. Another one could be return the remains of the Green Knights to their place, which is called what? The Mire Castle Ruins. They could journey to Haldren's Tower, but that's kind of a dead end. So I think I want to steer them away from traveling to Haldren's Tower, because they're going to get there and they can't get inside because Haldren's not there and the whole place is sealed up. And it's probably, I think it's, this is a good secret. I think Haldren's Tower, let's see, bands, followers of Mugdalblub have gone to Haldren's Tower. Oh, they could return to Wardenwood and save the remaining people. It's been a long time since they've been there, though, and I think we already determined that a significant amount of people, probably 3/4, the people have succumbed to Mugdalblub stuff. The remaining have gone to a camp nearby. I guess that's a secret, right? Only 1 out of 4 of people in Wardenwood haven't succumbed to the curse of Mugdalblub. They now camp. And where? They probably camp in a particular location. Let's get my keyed map. So Wardenwood is, I think, 307. 108 looks good. What's going on at 108? The Mossy Menrirs. That was where they found a big sinkhole, and the sinkhole led to the Goblin village. So maybe that's where they're probably hanging out. The Mossy Menhirs. I don't know how you pronounce that. So I think that's good. So they could return to Wardenwood and figure that out. I think that would be fine. Any other locations? Oh, they could confront the Knights of St. Idris at the Greywall Priory. I think one thing is that the Knights hunt for the remaining follower, for the remaining village folk, to purge them of the evil within. I think that could put a little bit of urgency on the characters going back to Wardenwood to try to save who remains. I think that could be useful, and that could be a next step. So that feels like they've got a few different good next steps. They seem to have passed on Titania and her quests to go recover various artifacts in order to get safe travel to the realm of the Fae. They've passed on that, so that's fine. We're gonna kind of ignore that as an option. Let's just go through our list of locations in the Gloaming and see, are there any other locations that we wanted? Shattered Tower is where they started. Drizzle is hut they dealt with. The Mossy Menrirs we talked about. Markerstone, they seem to have ignored the Markerstone the whole time. Troll Cave turned out to go down to the Goblin Town. They were happy with that. Wardenwood, they've been to Outlaw Camp. They're going to now. Bittermold Keep, they've been to. Crazy Uncle Grigor is in 710. So he's near the bandit camp. So yeah, I think that, that might be a fun location along the way. We'll have a secret or clue that Crazy Uncle Grigor lives in a hut to the southeast. He seems to have avoided all the troubles going on in the land. He gives safe shelter to travelers. That's a nice secret. So they could go visit him. I think he'd be a fun NPC, a good purveyor of secrets and clues. The idea. So Fenimir Lake now is drained. So I think that he would know stuff going on there. The Stone Circle 807 is a stone circle to Kytheros. That might be kind of an interesting thing. Haldren's Tower, of course, we're going to have. The Barrow Mounds is 910. Where is that? I don't know. I don't know if we'll do anything with the Barrow Mounds or not. Mushroom Grove, 1002, that's to the north, and that's probably where Titania is hanging out. So we could have a Titania now resides in the Mushroom Grove to the northeast of Fenimere Lake. So we have that. The Bone Cave, I think that was where we were going to have, that's where we were going to have the summoning of Unduluk, but I think we're going to do that elsewhere. So I don't think we're going to worry about the Bone Cave. Marin's Hold is where the superstitious fisher folk burned Morrigan's mother alive, or burned Morrigan's mother. So that's not a great place. Boot Hill is where that occurred at 1205. The Orc Village is 2010. Yeah, we could see about that. The Meyer Castle ruins in 308. The Ancient Cairn. So there's a few places that we could still have. Greyrow Priory. The Wolf Cave is where Almazat's was going to be. Yeah. We have a cultist camp, 1504. I don't know if we're going to get all that far out. Corrupted Henge. And then the Vile Well, 1607. Far to the east. So that's, that's kind of where that's sort of a major place. So I think that's going to be their journey. Well, we'll see. We'll see where they go. But yeah, I feel like, okay, that's probably enough like locations to worry about. I mean, I was just going through the list to see if there's any that jump out at me. It's like, oh, I definitely want to have something there. And we can wing most of that. So, and this is like, and boy, we're talking now we're overdoing it, right? We're talking about things that they're going to do far later, but we are talking about like, okay, we know where they are now. We know what hex they're in. What's in the hexes, one hex out. Now, of course, we're talking many hexes to the east, but we're talking about like, what are the locations that they could go to after this? So what other secrets could they learn? Particular things that they would learn down in the Marrow tree. Unduluk and the cultists of Marrow. Well, Unduluk and the world of Marrow. Well, yeah, were created by Kytheros, specifically to rid the world, the worlds of Mugglblub. Every cell in their bodies hates the Slime Lord. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. One more secret that we need. Is there any other final secret that we want for our game today? Anything else that they could learn? Well, I think we still have the same one, which is that the Knights of St. Yidris trapped Haldren in the Vile Well, far to the east, where the sorcerer hunted for some powerful artifact. No doubt, the horrors within have devoured the foolish sorcerer. So that's a good secret. That's a big one. Fantastic locations we tend not to really have to worry about. They're all basically in the book and the one location that we're doing. So I'm probably going to just delete that step because I already know it. I mean, the big one is obviously the tree, right? Roots. The roots of the Marrow tree. But we don't really need it in my list because I know it. Like I'm there already, right? I'm going to be working on a whole map. So we're going to do the map in a second when I finish the rest of this. So NPCs that they could run into. So we have Greaves Redthorn, certainly. I'm probably going to use some, I guess there's some random names. Let's see. Let's pull out a few random names here and just have them handy. Is there a list of character names? There we go. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there are 6 different, where's my dice? Oh, I packed them up because I'm going to my plate. I'll get my dice out here. We have 6 different types of people. So let's do like four NPCs. I think is there an NPC generator? Let's see. I think there is. Yeah. And it looks like you roll. Oh, look, you roll a D12. So that it has a little bit of, okay. So we'll come to names in a second. So ancestry, we have a human and an elf. So let's make some, and then we're going to roll 2 more. 9 and 7. A halfling and a dwarf. Hey, look at that. Perfect. Human, elf, halfling, and dwarf. And we are not going to worry about age. We're not going to worry about alignment. We're not going to worry about wealth. We'll do some NPC qualities. So let me grab a handful of D20s. And this is for the human is a 9, a 6, and a 19. 9, scar on a face. 6, writes in a diary. That's great. Scar on face, writes in a diary. And 19 is a retired crawler. Cool. Then we do our elf. 15, 16, and 3. 15 tattooed, 16 twitches, and 3 obsessed with fire. Cool. 18, 11, and 19. 18, 6 fingers. 19. Swaggers, 6 fingers, swaggers, and 11 in deep gambling debt. What was it? 18, 6 fingers, swaggers, gambling debt. And the dwarf. 20, 19, and 6. 20, large nose. 19, swaggers, and 6 was a wizard's apprentice. Ooh, large nose, swaggers. All right, so we got those. Do we need more stuff for these? They have like occupations. We're not going to worry about that. So the one that was a former crawler, this could be kind of fun. The former crawler was the Savage Skulls, member of the Savage Skulls, who are known for setting taverns on fire. That's fun. So we have like a, we'll keep that handy for our NPC stuff. I think that's probably, so we have our NPC names. Look at this. This is handy. So our human, I wonder, I presume these names are different than the character names. I hope so. Teo, the dwarf, let's see, I just roll, right? Bang. We have a dwarf and an elf and a halfling. The dwarf is Orgo. The elf is Orgo and Alindria. Whoops. And the halfling is 15? Fern. I like to give them last names, and you could use the party names, but maybe they just don't have surnames. That's probably fine. So that gives us a handful of NPCs for the characters to kind of meet. I don't know when and where I'm going to use those NPCs, but I now have them ready. Monsters is a good question because the area is not your standard place. Like we've had the Greaves Redthorn here before. So we're going to make a random list of 6 different kinds of creatures, and that's what we're generally going to roll on. And some of these encounters might be specific, and then some of them we're going to roll on. But we could have Marrow Knight, and let's see, let's go to my monsters. And I guess there'll be bandits, right? But they're not really bandits, they're conscripts, right? And Marrow conscripts. We'll say 1 to 2 Marrow Knights, and 1d4 conscripts, or 2d3. So 2d3 conscripts. I know I'm using like weird ass dice, but that would be a maximum of 6 and a minimum of 2, with an average of, what is the average on that? Is 1.5? What's the average of a d3? I don't know. 2? I guess it's 2. So the average would be 4. I know it sounds weird, but it gives a bound that I prefer, because like you don't want 1 conscript and you don't want 10 conscripts. So we'll do 1d4 Marrow Wolves. We'll do 1 to 2 Marrow Dire Wolves. Those things are nasty. What other kinds of critters might they run into here? There could be. Let's look through the monsters list and think about what are there any other like non-sentient monsters that would make sense for this place. We have cultists in here. So not angels, animated armor, none of those. We could have 1d4 believer conscripts. This random list too is, you can use it as a random list, or you can just kind of pick, depending on what kind of makes sense. Any other, you could have a bat swarm. Yeah, bat swarm might be good. Kind of a typical thing you might run into. A cave creeper, Marrow cave creepers. I like that. Marrow summoned cave creeper and 1d4 centipedes. That's fun. We could do 1d4 cultists, Marrow cultists. True believers. No demons, no devils, no dinosaurs, no dragons, no drow. Like one more thing they could run into. Gibbering mouther. I don't think that's native to... I'm trying to think of creatures that would make sense, like being connected to the world of Marrow. Grix would be. D2 Grix. We'll do a quick, for funsies, just kind of do a bigger scan and make sure there's not anything else I want to throw in here. But those feel good to me. Knight in blackened armor, riddled with cruel barbs. A Reaver. I like that. The Reaver would be a great stat for Greaves. And the Reaver is on page 247. I like that. The roper might be kind of neat. They got like snake people. That's cool. Yep, that feels right. Treasure we're going to roll. So I got a D8 table for monsters if I want to, if I want to whip them out. Treasure we're going to roll on. Session notes are going to be handwritten. So I'm actually going to convert my checklist here to just normal list because that goes better when I throw it into Word. Whoops. And characters I can pull off. I should, no, take that back. I'm going to make a list of characters. And now I don't remember who they are because I'm terrible. The list of characters are really useful because you can use it for like initiative and everything else. So Morgan, Dazder, Kalim, Lauren, Uralt, Tribble. There. So that is pretty good. So you can see like a really clean list of stuff. So I'm going to select this now and I'm going to go into Word, good old Microsoft Word, blank document. Layout, we're going to do margins narrow, columns 2. We paste our stuff in there, and then we select it all, and we turn all of the text into times 4, and it actually all fits on one page. So we are going to print that. Print. If you want to see what it looks like, because you can't see it, those of you watching, let's print it to the PDF. Open and preview. And that is what our notes look like. So we have one page of notes that we can just throw in my Trapper Keeper, right? Throw it into this guy, and I'm ready. So one last thing we want to do. Hang on, I'll be right back. So I've got my printout with my notes for today's game. I'm going to put that in my cool Trapper Keeper, my D&D Trapper Keeper, which isn't really Trapper Keeper. And I've got my map, right? So I printed a copy of the map out. And what I'm going to do now, and we can kind of follow, it's going to be a little hard to follow along at home, but let's see. I can at least pull the map up, and I will try to describe which room I am talking about. I'll actually move it to my other window here. Whoops. Yeah, so that's the map. So the characters start right in the center. And what I'm going to do, I've got 10 minutes. Can I fill out this map with stuff in 10 minutes? So right off the bat, we decided last time that this is actually an former elven citadel. And I think they actually made it into the first chamber. So we're going to have elf statues in that first chamber. Then we decided that the portal chamber, let's see, how are we going to work this out? So the portal chamber is going to be directly to the west. And the portal is currently dormant, but Greaves and his acolytes are in the process of activating the second portal. Which one? And one of them is already, or they're in the process of activating the portals. And we will randomly determine, is Greaves doing the north portal or the south portal? He is doing the south portal. So this is the southern portal key and northern portal key. He went to the south. Let's see. So we have some acolyte barracks. We have somewhere there's got to be a wolf's den. Where will we put the wolf's den? I think we'll put the wolf's den in the southwest corner. We'll have the wolf caretaker, elven murals. These are all kind of different, one-line descriptions of what's in these various chambers. And then when I'm done, I'm going to take a picture of this and I'll show it to you guys. So what's that far southeastern room that's connected to the southern portal key? Destroyed elven tomb. There could be like an elven ghost in there. That might be kind of cool. And then we have so next to the wolf's den, I've got a chamber. What would be in there? Devoured corpses. That sounds grody. Then just to the north of the portal chamber is a room. A couple of rooms. What could we put in there? They could be like elven statues. So what were they before? This is that room directly on, I can't show it. On the northwest side of the map, one notch down is that, it's square on the bottom and rough up top. And what is that? What can we put in that chamber? And then what is that there's a great big long, the wilds, right? So these could be like the bestial dens. And we'll have a forgotten treasury, which is the furthest room in the northwest, but you have to get through the bestial dens to get there, and it's super dangerous. So I just got a handful of chambers to the north here. What can I put in there? So these These could be either elven chambers. We can think about them from the point of view of what were they to the elves, and then how are they being used by the Marrow cultists now. So we could have, let's see, because a lot of the northern chambers are sort of like natural stone. I can't just keep doing elven murals everywhere. Only 3 rooms to go. So if this was an elven temple before, so I guess portraits of elven gods. And they might have the 3 portraits of like the 3 gods, Almazat, or of Kytheros and Shun, and maybe St. Cuthbert would be another one. That might be kind of, or not St. Cuthbert, St. Yidris might be another interesting one. The arcane barracks are connected to a chamber. This is near the portal room. We could have what would be like a meeting hall, preparation chamber. And then there's that, they're going to have to go through it, that great big northern chamber, wolf guards. So that's pretty good. And I might get better ideas when it actually comes closer to running the game. So what I'm going to do now, so I've got that handwritten. So that's ready to go with my notes. But I'm going to take a picture just so I can show you guys what I'm talking about. So we go bang. So I got a nice JPEG. And we're going to airdrop this thing to my MacBook. And there's my handwritten map, right? So starting where the characters are going to be, let's see, we'll zoom in this a little bit so you can kind of read it. They come to some elf statues. If they go to the southwest, they see elven murals. The southern portal key is to the west. So what are the portal keys? The idea is that in order to open the portal to Marrow, the former Knights of St. Yidris, Grease, Redthorn and company, are working together, channeling energy into these 2 keys to try to get the portal open. In order to close the portal, they have to destroy both keys, which I think will be these like elven crystalline orbs that have been sort of changed and mutated to draw in the world of Marrow. And the portal is just open, so the characters have to go and destroy both of these things to close the portal. And just as they destroy the second one of them is when when Undaluk actually steps through. They have to kill Undaluk to close the portal completely. So the chain of events could be they can go to the north or go to the south. The portal chamber probably will have a couple of, cult type people maintaining the portal, which is mostly open. When they get to the second one is when it is fully open. Let's see. Is the idea that we want them to have to go to both portal chambers, destroy the things before they can go to the other one? I think the answer is yes, which means they'll have to go through the portal chamber at least once before it's fully open, maybe twice. I think that will work out, right? So the idea is whichever direction they go, so the cult of Marrow is activating both keys when the characters get there. By the time they get to the first one, the second key will have worked. They then have to go to the second key and destroy that. By the time they destroy the second key is when Undaluk has stepped forward. Then they kill Undaluk. So whichever direction they go, they still always have to face Undaluk. Is that railroady? I mean, I don't know. They still have to close the portal. The whole goal is to close the portal. It's a little railroady. Is there an opportunity for them to close the portal without Undaluk? I don't think so. And I don't think you would necessarily want that. I think that's okay. What do you, the fine people at home, think? Could they split the party and work on both keys? They could. That would be super dangerous. Oh, yeah, I don't know. I think that's good enough, right? Good enough is important. So there's my handwritten map. You can see my handwritten thing. I combine it with my paper notes, and I stick it in my Trapper Keeper, and I'm all set for the game today. So I think we're all set for today's game. I want to thank everybody for hanging out with me today while we enjoyed my game prep. I hope you enjoyed this show. If you did and you want to see more stuff like this from me, the best way to do so is to subscribe to the Sly Flourish newsletter. Every week you get an email sent to you that includes an RPG related article plus links to all of the other work I do and all of the other platforms where I do it. You can also become a patron of Sly Flourish. Patrons get access to a dedicated Discord server, monthly Q&A, a whole bunch of different tools to help you run your games. Lots of great stuff you get for being a patron of Sly Flourish. And you can pick up my books, Return to the Lazy Dungeon Master, Lazy DM's Companion, Lazy DM's Workbook, Forge of Foes, and all of my other fantastic adventure books on the Sly Flourish bookstore. The links for all of that are in the show notes. Thank you all so much. Have a great day and get out there and play an RPG.